Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about Book 3 of the Inheritance Cycle, Brisingr by Christopher Paolini. So on this reread, of course, I'm going to go into full spoilers for the entire series because I kind of want to talk about it in context of the adaptation as well as the already now released fifth book, Murtagh. So yeah, this is going to contain full spoilers for pretty much the entire series if it pops into my brain. So yeah, with that being said, please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and if you'd like to support the channel in another way, you can check out the Patreon. The link is in the description. So as always, let's begin. So Brisingr, this is where we really start to kind of get the, I guess, the originality part of Christopher's story. This is where we really start to drop a lot of the influence and a lot of the references to other existing stories. But this is also kind of where we start to really lean into the RPG nature of the story. This kind of started in book 2 in Eldest when we kind of get Aragon's, all of his stats are basically maxed out. Like that seems to be kind of what we were doing in it, along with playing with the little unrequited love, emotional kind of stuff we had going on. Along with that, we have that other thing that I was talking about where we have maxed out the characters' physical stats, and now we need to max out their psychological and emotional mental stats. So a lot of this is Aragon thinking. There's a lot of like philosophical thinking. He's processing information and he's learning how to think, and he's trying to think about things in like a grander kind of way. So there's a lot of that, which for a lot of people can be very boring, especially in context of the fact that most of this happens in just a near endless procession of side missions. So like I said, we kind of had the character stats being maxed out, and now in this one we seem to have we need to basically complete all the side missions of the RPG game before we finish the storyline in order to complete the game with the 100% complete. That's kind of how this feels to me. This feels a lot like, Saphira made a promise about the Star Sapphire and stuff. We gotta go fix that. Okay, promise Ormus and Glader will come back to finish the training. Let's go do that. We haven't officially hit the point of some of these prophecies. They haven't come true. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. We haven't dealt with Elva. Let's go do that. Like we haven't dealt with Nasuada's relationship to her native people. Let's do that. We haven't, like it's side mission after side mission after side mission, and some of them are a lot of fun. Like I really like the stuff we get with Roran in the beginning. We kind of get the finishing of the another one of the side missions. We have to completely button up the Rozak revenge plot line. We got to go ahead and do that. So we kind of start off doing that. So Roran and Aragon goes off and to go save Katrina and stuff in order to, go save her. But they ultimately, I guess the Rozak are now extinct because after they save Katrina and who Aragon also finds out is Sloane is also there. Because when he betrayed the village people, he basically got kidnapped as well along with her. So Aragon finds out it's Sloane there. He also doesn't want to like deal with the fact that he's still alive after the betrayal. So he just kind of wants Roran and Katrina to basically have a life and stuff. So he keeps a secret from them that they're alive. And as a result, he basically can't go back with them because he has to figure out what to do with them. So he sends Roran, Katrina, and Saphira back to the Varden and stuff while he stays there. And it becomes this first time we see Aragon and Saphira separated. So that part of it I really liked because they're getting closer and closer to being like a single entity. So understanding both of them in context of them being separated after they've been together, thick as thieves forever, like it's a really interesting kind of development for both of those characters. But of course, it's just pure side mission to the point where we have Nasuada back at home, like back with the rest of the Varden, like, dude, what are you doing? Like we're pushing this war and stuff, and like I really like the stuff they're doing with her, but I'll talk about her in a little bit. But the initial mission is he basically kills the last Rozak, who basically says he is the last of his kind. And they do cause the Rozak to go like completely extinct, it seems, which is an interesting move because if that was the case, I wish they would have like kind of explained that Galbatorix like bred the leather blockers, which are the parents of the Rozak or something. Something to kind of explain why there's only this finite number of them. I would have liked that, but it also just kind of feels like we need to wrap up the original revenge plot line that started the entire story, so here it is. So, because Aragon doesn't want to be like judge, jury, and executioner. He basically discovers Sloane's true name and basically sends him to Ellesmere to basically live there and do whatever and basically see if he will eventually, through like hanging out with the elves and probably reading or whatever he does to bide his time, will probably change his true name and release himself from the oaths Aragon basically forced him to make. And if he does become a better person, then the elves will also reward him with his eyesight back, because the Razak, I think they ate his eyes or something, or they just blinded him. If they ate his eyes, that would be really cool and really, really gruesome. But I don't think that's exactly what they. Maybe they did, and maybe it's just not explicitly said. But yeah, so like that's the first little side mission we have, and then we get some more side missions and stuff. And some of them are important, but most of them are just kind of there. Some of them happen. They feel so completely separate from the main plot that when I think back on them, I'm honestly not sure which book they happened in. Like, I just finished the book. I finished the audiobook, and it feels like some of these side missions happened so long ago that my brain is almost saying, did that happen in Eldest? Did that happen, like, back then or something like that, you know? So a lot of it doesn't really mesh with the overall plot in the way that I think it should, in the way that most people probably would think it should, and in a way that I think would be really clean. But a lot of them are still interesting. There's this sense of savoring I have in this book. This really feels like Christopher really savoring this world he created and really is just kind of sitting in it. So Brisingr and Inheritance were originally one book. It was supposed to just end with the trilogy. But the book got so overbloated that Christopher basically split them into two books and continued the series as the Inheritance Cycle instead of the Inheritance Trilogy. So it again, that to me kind of just lends more credence to the idea that this is him really wanting to just kind of sit and play in this world that he created. It's very much a mixed bag because there's a lot of really fun stuff in here. Like I like the expansion of the elves when we get the 12 protector elves that show up, and this idea of Bloodgarbin, like part animalistic and stuff. That's something that you don't really see that often in the elves and stuff. It's more of a fae kind of attribute, even though elves are fae creatures in most lore and stuff. But like it's a aspect of the lore that goes with these creatures that you don't see that often, that I thought was really, really cool. We also get the other reveal that Morzan is not Aragon's father, that Bronn is actually his father, but him and Murtagh share a mother, the Black Hand, Selena and stuff. So a lot of that is, if that reveal feels kind of like a not a cop out, but like a pullback. It's like Christopher didn't, he kind of regretted making Aragon the son of Morzan, it feels like. And he kind of thought it makes more sense for him to be the son of Bronn, especially since the way he set it up and everything. But it could have been a plan from the beginning, I don't know. But to me, it feels like a backtrack, kind of a retcon a little bit. So, but I still kind of like it. But the nature of them having to go back and complete their training, I don't know if that happens in Star Wars. I don't have a lot of clear memories of Star Wars, but that feels a little bit like something that happened in Star Wars. And I kind of understand it because the nature of like the Eldunari and that kind of stuff that they explain to them, and then the clarification on who his father is, and of course them finding the bright steel under the Manoa tree is very, necessary. So it was very significantly necessary for Aragon to actually return there in person instead of just having a conversation through scrying or whatever. So that makes total sense. But it's also like, man, that feels like y'all are making it more difficult than it has to be. So it's kind of interesting there. I'm going to be just basically all over the place because it feels like the book is all over the place. So I'm just going to kind of talk about the main points that I remember before we kind of talk about the overall kind of structure of the book, I guess. Again, the stuff with Roran, I really liked. I like this idea that it feels very tropish that even the cousin of the writer, like he is going to be an amazing character and stuff, but it kind of comes across as this is Roran's ambition, not just the fact that he's a dragon rider's cousin and stuff. So when he takes charge and like does all these cool things in the military, despite having like next to no true military experience, when he like defies orders and stuff and it all works out, and then he ends up killing almost 200 people by himself and like didn't lose a single person. But then he still has to like face the consequences of disobeying a direct order, which I kind of like because it kind of keeps this balance of he has special treatment because of who his family is, but also like we're going to keep up the face that you are just a member of the military, so you have to face consequences and stuff. So him getting the whippings like made total sense to me. And then Nasawada just turned around and said, "Okay, I'm going to give you your own command, so that there's nobody for you to disobey, because clearly you have better tactical knowledge than the people that were over you. So in order to avoid this situation happening again, I'm just going to give you your own squad," which I thought was cool. And something I forgot to mention in the Eldest review is that they have basically made an alliance with the Urgos. So now the Urgos are one of the species that they're working with. But I like the fact that in this story, we acknowledge and like really go into the fact that that would be a very contentious alliance. Like there are humans that are killing Urgos and Urgos that are killing humans and stuff, because just the nature of their culture and stuff. And I like the fact that it's emphasized that it's very much their culture is how they are. It's not like just they're an evil species. It's just kind of the way in which they exist, because they're not humans, so they have I guess the best way to describe it is like animal kind of habits, like the way some animal species show dominance and stuff in the wild, they will fight each other and stuff, and it also helps their mate potentiality and like their prospects and stuff. And it seems like that's very much what the Urgos do, except they're intelligent enough to recognize that, oh, if we want to mesh with other species, we kind of can't do that too much. So like now there's like a lot of, it's basically a thing that never happens in Lord of the Rings. It's like we understand that the orcs and where are they orcs? We understand that they're corrupted dark elves and stuff, as basically said by the Silmarillion. They're corrupted and tortured POWs, basically, that were formerly elves, but there's never any, attempt at rehabilitating any of them or anything like that. I wish it was more explained in a magical sense, like their souls have been corrupted by the soul of Sauron or something like that, kind of like the ring wraiths, so we wouldn't feel so bad about maybe just wiping them out as a species. But that's neither here nor there. So I kind of like that aspect of it, and again, I like the a lot of the stuff that Nasawada goes through, like the trial of the long knives, her entire push and pull of this command that she has, this leadership role. I really like the emphasis that we get on that. We kind of really see the push and pull of it. We see how difficult it actually is, and how many just like rock in a hard place kind of positions she constantly is getting put in, and how many decisions that she has to make that she doesn't like either of her options and things like that. I think that's a lot of great attention to detail for a character that's like a leader. A lot of the times leaders in books and stuff like this is just like, okay, they're the leader, like they're off doing leader stuff or whatever, like they're the head commander and stuff. But in this, we really kind of get to sit and deal with the stuff that she's dealing with. So that kind of makes us feel a lot closer to the character, which I really appreciate. Also, some of the other relationships that kind of get built on is like the Aragon and Arya relationship. When they're on their way back from dealing with the Razak, Arya basically meets up with Aragon and helps him on his way back, kind of give him an escort, extra backup since he was alone and stuff. And we get a lot of time with them just being together alone, which is set up, in my opinion, for inheritance. But it's kind of cool to kind of see underneath the shell of this kind of presentation that Arya puts on. Like we kind of, a lot of the stuff she's been through like doesn't really get fleshed out and doesn't really like we don't see the character deal with it, like the aftermath of the torture and the trauma and stuff she has, and just all the people she's lost and all this stuff. So the story about the person that was her companion for 20 years and then died and stuff like that, I really like that kind of stuff. There's a lot of really good character stuff in here. There's a lot of cool action moments and stuff, but a lot of it is just plotting. Meandering is probably a really, really accurate term for the way this book flows, because all these side missions, some of them feel very connected to the main plot and they feel very integral, but some of the side missions just feel completely unnecessary. Honestly, like Roran and Katrina's wedding, that entire thing, could have been off page in my opinion. It could have, because there's also like a lot of time skips, like we skip weeks and stuff like that and days and stuff like that. So it honestly could have been just done in between one of those skips. Like the Auric becoming king. Yes, it feels slightly necessary to kind of go back to I can't remember what it's called. Whatever. To go back there to the place to see him be crowned and stuff. But again, that's something that could have been done in between pages. Like we have an excuse to like basically. I mean, I guess it's kind of wrapped up all in the same side mission. We're dealing with the coronation and everything, and Saphira goes and repairs the gemstone and stuff. So that's technically a double side mission. but like the entire nature of that side mission could have been done off screen, or but I do kind of like the fact that we get to see a little bit more of Oryx since he's basically played as best friend. So I still kind of feel like the entire coronation and the entire like king, like crowning him king and stuff could have been done off page or in one of these time skips, because it's not hyper significant because we don't really see how it plays out unless it happens in Inheritance and I'm just not really remembering. But it just seems, again, it's one of these side missions things. And like a lot of these side missions could have been trimmed down in a lot of ways. Like Elva, like I think that was really cool and I think it has a lot of implication for the future, but I don't really see where it's going, like I don't really see her being played as a truly neutral character, as a chaotic neutral character, the way they kind of imply she's going. So maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. I don't really think it will. But there's other stuff too, like Aragon just walking around. He kind of used magic to kind of make these golden balls and stuff. He's just going back and paying people back for stuff that he like stole in the first book and all this kind of stuff. So there's just a lot of like plotting, kind of meandering little side missions and stuff. But the main plot that we kind of get going is we learn a bit more about the nature of dragons and about their connections and stuff. This is where we learn about Eldunari, the dragon's heart of hearts. So essentially, a dragon can die, but it can retreat its entire consciousness and its spirit effectively into what my brain can only recognize as a gem heart. It's similar to Brandon Sanderson's gem hearts. And considering this is older than Stormlight, I almost wonder if Brandon was slightly inspired by the concept. But so they can essentially retreat everything that they are, including their entire magic reserve type system or whatever, into their heart of hearts. And a magic user can basically use that as a gigantic source of extra magic, which explains why Murtagh was so much stronger than Aragon even after he got all his stats maxed out. So it's because Galbatorix gave him some of these Eldunari that he has back home from the other, probably from the Forsworn or probably from some other dragon riders and stuff. And it's essentially, the secret to his power. So Aragon also fights Murtagh in this one, but he has the help of the 12 elves that came, as backup and stuff. So using them, he was able to overpower Murtagh. So it's already kind of showing that it's not a, insurmountable kind of thing to fight. So it's already setting up the main crux of the battle that's going to happen later. So I kind of like that stuff a lot. And then when we get back to actually meeting with Ormus and Glader, like I like that that's when Aragon learns about it. He gets his sword Brisingr, which is it's a little too simple because it's the first spell he learned. It's the first bit of magic he did. So of course, naming the spell that feels like a wrap around back to the beginning. But then it also having that name and being as magical inherently as it is, anytime he says the name at all, regardless of trying to put magic into it, it bursts into flames because it's, magic or whatever. So he has this kind of cliche sword and stuff, but he has like a rider sword and stuff. But it basically all culminates with this new battle that happens, of course, and they go up against Thorn and Murtagh, and this one is really Glader and Ormus kind of going up against Thorn and Murtagh because Aragon and Arya are basically dealing with the magic users of this location where they are. And we find out that the magicians there are essentially trying to create a new shade, which seems to be against the plans of the person that rules that town because they, they're not lovers of the king, but they're still loyal to the king in that, they don't want to get destroyed kind of way. So they, they're fighting back, but they don't really want to have to deal with this. So the magician's getting desperate enough to actually create a shade is like the monarch person, like, I didn't really want that, like, because that's a terrible thing. A shade could destroy our entire city and civilization and stuff. So Aragon and Arya is basically dealing with that, and then we get to the point where like basically they have to jump the person that becomes the shade, and then Arya kills him. So like now we have two shade slayers. Arya and Aragon are shade slayers, but all the while we have Ormus and Glader fighting Thorn and Murtagh, and he's basically talking to Galbatorix through Murtagh, who because Galbatorix has that level of control over him and stuff. And Glader and Ormus have already been shown to have like seizures and stuff. So during this major conflict and this conversation and stuff they're having while they're fighting, they use basically significant magic to like freeze both of them in place or whatever, and they're kind of stuck. And basically, Ormus gets struck by a seizure. he's vulnerable, and then Galbatorix uses Murtagh to kill Oramus. And when the rider dies, the dragon also dies. And Glader had given Aragon and Saphira his Eldenari, his Heart of Hearts, already. So as Oramus dies, it's written in this really interesting way because like he's it's pure mental connection, so he doesn't really know what's going on his back and stuff, even though he can like feel what's happening. He's pumping energy into Oramus after he's been sliced and stuff, so he's trying to keep him alive and keep him alive, but he's just bleeding out, and there's like nothing he can do. So he tries to go after Murtagh and Thorn, and he bites off like the last 3 feet of his tail and stuff, and like gets some, real grievous injury. But then, like as he continues to try to attack, he's just like instantly his mind just kind of fades for a second. He gets bit at the base of his neck, and then like his consciousness flickers, and then he's just in darkness. Like there's no real transition to it. He's just like gone, and he's inside the Heart of Hearts, and it takes him a second to realize what happened, and then he's just complete lost to mourning and stuff, mourning Oramus and stuff, and mourning that he's dead and all this stuff. So it's just like, oh my god, it's so incredibly intense. So that stuff is really well done. It's so interesting. I think this book really needed kind of a decent editing pass. If I was the editor on this, I would have told Christopher like, you can condense and take out a lot of these side missions and then have this be a very, very cohesive, like really, really good story. Because the main parts of the story, like the last battle in it with Oramus and Glader and like Thorn and Murtagh, is really, really good. It started off with a great pacing with Roran and Aragon dealing with the Razak and stuff. That was really nicely handled. And then just some of the stuff in the middle was really nicely handled. Like the Elva stuff was really good. The returning to Ellesmere for the training was really good. Like there was a lot of good stuff in there that we could have had a really solid middle third instead of this just feeling like side mission cleanup kind of thing that we got. So I'm very much of a mixed opinion on it. I enjoyed the plot relevant stuff we got, and I was very bored with all the what felt like extra stuff we got. So I'm just very much middle of the road. But I really do like this one. It gives me very much RPG kind of vibes. So I say I'm of a mixed opinion on it, but like it's as mixed of an opinion as I had on some of the Assassin's Creed games where I'm like, oh, okay, this feels very meandering, but I'm still enjoying myself. It's that kind of thing. So that's kind of where I come away with on this story. So let me know in the comments down below. If you all read Brisingr, are you fans of it? Did it feel very much like side mission, the story, the book? Like, let me know about all that in the comments down below. So as always, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And if you want to support the channel in another way, you can check out the Patreon. It's linked in the description below. And as always, I will talk to you all next time. Peace.